So it's not very often an unreleased iPad gets unboxed, but we have a new unboxing video on YouTube of the M5 iPad Pro. This clip comes from Russian channel Wylsacom. I hope I'm saying that right, but this is the same account that actually leaked the 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M4 chip last year, so this looks to be a legit leak. In the video, we see what appears to be a 13-inch iPad Pro in space black with 256 gigs of storage, running iPadOS 26 and powered by the brand new M5 chipset. At first glance, it looks nearly identical to the current M4 model, right down to the 5.1mm thickness, single rear camera, 4 speakers, and smart connector. But there are a few key changes hiding in plain sight. For one, the familiar iPad Pro inscription on the back is now gone, and under the hood the M5 chip is showing some pretty decent gains, around 12% faster multi-core CPU performance and up to 36% faster GPU scores compared to the M4, all while sticking with the same 9-core CPU layout. The Geekbench listing also confirms 12GB of RAM on the base 256GB configuration, matching the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone Air. So yeah, before Apple's even announced this thing, we're already getting hard evidence that the next iPad Pro is real, possibly coming out next month, and has pretty decent performance upgrades. But is this just a routine spec bump? Well, apparently not, because it is getting a life-changing upgrade that's not shown in the video, 2 front-facing cameras. Yeah, you heard that right. According to Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, the M5 iPad Pro could ship with both a portrait and landscape front camera, not on the back, on the front. And the logic's simple, you'll be able to jump on a video call or snap a selfie, no matter how you're holding the iPad. Sounds neat on paper, but here's the thing, was anyone actually asking for this? The landscape camera we already have isn't bad, it even has center stage which literally follows you around and keeps you framed, so why is Apple doubling up? Is this really fixing a real problem, or is Apple just adding tech for the sake of it? If anything, Apple should just add the square 18-megapixel sensor from the iPhone 17 to the iPad Pro. That'll let you take photos and record videos in landscape when in portrait and vice versa. Anyway, Apple's seemingly trying very hard to make this seem like a somewhat interesting upgrade, but this is ultimately a minor refresh. However, behind the scenes, Apple's laying the groundwork for some huge moves. We're talking about production changes, new supply deals that hint at foldables, and a long-term strategy to make the iPads more than just a bigger iPhone. And that's where the real story is. The dual cameras sound weird, almost gimmicky, but what Apple's doing in the background is far more exciting. So let's dig into why this boring M5 iPad Pro might actually be laying the foundations for bigger things to come. Let's start with what's concrete. According to Mark Gurman, the next gen iPad Pro is set to launch as soon as October, and now that we have this unboxing video, I would say that's pretty accurate. It lines up pretty well with Apple's past patterns. We saw iPad Pro models drop in October in both 2018 and 2022. The most recent refresh was in May 2024, so we're looking at a 17-month gap, which fits Apple's roughly 18-month iPad Pro cycle. Now don't expect fireworks with this model, I was just talking about a secondary camera as some sort of massive change, so that should tell you how minor this refresh is going to be. The unboxing shows the design is going to be mostly similar, and they're not even bothering changing the wallpaper. The current iPad Pro, the one that launched early in 2024, was already a massive leap forwards. We got a redesigned chassis, OLED displays, better color accuracy, deeper blacks, the works. So this upcoming model, yeah, it's mostly going to be a spec refresh. But it is slightly more interesting than typical spec refreshes because this will introduce the Apple M5. It's officially the first product before a Mac to get this new chipset. The M5 is expected to be built in TSMC's N3P process, their 3rd generation 3nm nodes. That's the same as the A17. This means better performance and better power efficiency over the M4. Now if you're thinking, wasn't the M4 already really good? You'd be right. The M4 is ridiculously fast for a tablet, even overkill for most users, but with iPadOS 26 bringing real multitasking changes that will now let you take advantage of the performance these chipsets have, I'm sure there'll be those who appreciate the better performance, even if they make up a very small percentage of iPad users. A 36% faster GPU isn't too shabby for a year-over-year upgrade, and while most users won't feel that performance boost unless you're doing serious video editing or running a bunch of pro applications, I won't complain that Apple's ultimately making their products faster. Now let's pause here for just a second. If you enjoy these deep dive comparisons, hit that subscribe button and tap the new hype button. It really helps a small channel like mine reach more Apple fans, and you'll never miss my latest takes on all things Apple. Alright, back to the iPads. Because here's the thing, even if the design isn't changing, Apple's actively preparing for big display innovations in the years ahead, and it's already starting to show in their supply chain decisions. according to a new report from ZDNet Korea. But Samsung Display and LG Display are mass producing OLED panels for this upcoming iPad Pro. That's different from last year when Samsung handled only the 11-inch panels and LG supplied the 13-inch ones. This time they're sharing duties on both sizes. Why the shift? It's about supply chain diversification. Apple doesn't want to rely on a single supplier anymore, especially with OLED displays set to expand across the iPad range in the coming years. We're already hearing reports of OLED coming to the iPad mini in 2026 and iPad Air in 2027. I noticed, by the way, that rumors are saying the mini would get OLED before the Air. How does it make sense a cheaper iPad would get OLED before the more expensive model? I expect that to be wrong, but one thing we can be sure about is OLED expanding across the range. And by bringing LG and Samsung into shared production now, Apple's both hedging its bets and building scale for that wider OLED rollout. Now let's talk about thinner bezels. Reports have surfaced that Apple's considering using LG's chip-on-film or CF display technology for future iPad Pro models. Now that might not sound very exciting at first glance, but this little change could result in much slimmer bezels and more compact designs without sacrificing screen size. Let me break it down. CUF lets manufacturers attach display driver chips directly to the screen using heat compression on a flexible film. These chips are what controls the pixels, and this new method allows them to be placed closer to the screen's edge. Less dead space means thinner bezels, which means you get more screen with the same sized iPad. This will apply to a future model though. The M5 iPad Pro isn't getting this change, since we can see in the unboxing video, the design hasn't changed. And while this year's model might feel iterative, they are setting the stage for something bigger on the horizon. We have news about foldables. Yes, the rumors are heating up, guys. Apple's reportedly testing foldable iPad Pro prototypes with up to 18.8-inch panels. That would make them larger than a 16-inch MacBook Pro when unfolded. We don't know the exact fold type yet, vertical like a book or horizontal like a laptop, but what's clear is that Apple sees the foldable iPads as a future category, and they're not rushing it. They're building up the supply chain and manufacturing experience to do this right. So back to the present, should you buy the M5 iPad Pro? Well, if you already own the M4 iPad Pro, I'd say no. That's still insanely powerful, the OLED display is still amazing on the M4, and you're not missing anything except maybe some performance gains and slightly more efficiency. But if you're on the M1 or older, especially one without OLED, then the M5 will feel like a huge step forwards, better display, thinner body, and a faster chipset. That said, here's a smart play, guys. Wait until the M5 drops and then grab the M4 for a discount. Apple might not cut prices, but third-party sellers absolutely will. And with how little this year's model's changing, the M4 is going to be the sweet spot for value. Especially with bigger changes on the horizon, you might as well save your money now and go with a very similar M4 model for less. So yeah, 2025's iPad Pro refresh might not be very flashy, but what's next could be huge. Think ultra slim displays, CUF tech, foldables, custom modems, because I'm sure the M1 and C1 will make its way to the iPad. And yeah, finally we can see iPads that break out of the yearly refresh treadmill. Let me know your thoughts in the comments though. Will you be upgrading to the M5, holding onto your M4, or waiting for the foldable iPad revolution? And before you go, hit the subscribe button and hype button if you haven't already. More Apple news, leaks and reviews are coming your way, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.